Yeah.
So, welcome everybody to our second, episode of Revolution Ready. My name is Shani B, and I'm here with my girl,
Becca.
Okay. So, Becca, what we talking about today?
So today we have some real special guests that we want to introduce to the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But before we get into our special guests, you know what we do. We start off with our boot licking.
Did you say boot licking?
Boot licking.
So tell me, what is a boot licker? I forgot.
Oh, you forgot what a boot licker?
I ain't forget, but I think
everybody knows what the boot licker is at this
Okay.
point in time.
Okay, so what is a boot licker?
Okay, so Tori Lowe told me that
Shout out to Tori Lowe.
the boot licker is pretty much the Uncle Tom of the situation, the overseer. You know, the one that's like extra as heck in the black community that when we going to the left, they going to the right, or they just sell you out. You
Someone
know?
that go tell Massa everything.
Don't tell Massa everything.
Kind of like an Uncle Ruckus.
Uncle Ruckus. Y'all remember 12 Years a Slave? That's what it is, ain't it? No.
Uncle Ruckus is from the Boondocks.
Uncle Ruckus. What's the one off of the movie with Jamie Foxx?
It was, we just call him Samuel L.
L.
Jackson.
What's his name? Massa got sick. He said, we sick. Massa was sick. He said, we sick.
We sick.
Yeah, all right.
A house person. We're going to keep it PG. So
We
who
gonna
is
keep
our
it
boot
PG.
licker for the week? Who is our boot
I'm
licker?
going to have to go ahead and get Tracy Dent the boot licker for the week. Because he did too much.
Now, I got to say, Tracy Dent, she saved you the last episode because I was pushing for you to have this, you know what I'm saying, this title. But why is he the boot licker this week?
This week, it's just because we going to the right and he going to the left. Like, it's like he overextended something that we believe the foundation of is faulty. It's faulty. And it's the first annual appreciation. It's not the second. It's not like he been doing this before. It's like you trying too hard, bro. Like, let's come together as a community. We know that policing, the foundation of policing, is faulty. It started off as slave catchers. So let's go appreciate the slave catchers. And I mean, I understand reconciliation with officers because they people and we need that in our community, but like, he forced it, fam.
He sure did.
He
A couple
forced
weeks
it.
ago, he was talking about, 12 people in Milwaukee got shot, and y'all talking about taking 124 cops off of the force or something, he said to that extent. But, yeah, you bootlicking, Tracy. I mean,
Bootlicking.
just bootlicking. Just lick the boots, homie. Just lick the boots. And we ain't taking that back. So, we always have a Blacktastic of the week as well. So who is that going to?
Hold on. Before we move to our new Blacktastic, can we talk about our last Blacktastic right quick? Just review. So guess what, y'all? Guess what? So our Blacktastic from the last show was Tamika Mallory. And Shani B had decided that Tamika Mallory was going to be the Blacktastic for last show, when she came up with that nice quote that we loved, when she said, all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk.
That's right.
We've been saying that for the past couple of weeks since she said it.
Yes.
And then she messed around and got to meet Tamika Mallory a couple of days ago.
Yes.
Look at God.
Yes, look at God. But not only just meet her, we got to politic with her.
Yeah.
We got to be on conference calls with
Yeah.
her. And we have a relationship with her. So I'm excited about that,
Yeah.
about what's to come with Miss Tamika.
And she's smooth, cool. Like, she
Yes.
cool as a fan. Loved her. Absolutely. Very humble. But this week, we have a new Blacktastic.
Who's our new Blacktastic?
We got a group of Blacktastic, but we gonna call out one in the Blacktastic, the woman in the Blacktastic. You know what I'm saying? Because the men don't care. They give her props. They love her. But she spoke at the rally the other day, and just her perseverance through the protest, and everything that she has contributed, her courage. We giving Blacktastic to Roz, y'all.
All right, Roz. Hi, Roz.
Hey.
You got anything to say to the people, Miss Blacktastic? And I also want to say she consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's consistent. She helped out with the rally. Like, this young woman is so phenomenal. So, well, you got anything to say to our people?
Power to the people.
Power to the people. Okay.
And it's rare that you get to bring the Blacktastic in the show. Usually you just, reading the bio on them. But, we got it right here live and in person because we have to make sure that we are appreciating the people in Milwaukee where we are. Not just people because they come out of town or because they have a big name or, we have to realize the people that are already here that have that same potential and that same impact and influence on people. So we have to appreciate them.
I wish, you know what, I'm going to do something different, and Becca going to look at me crazy or whatever, but we should have another Blacktastic of the week, and I'm going to nominate Becca Burrell.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
For Blacktastic of the week, because Thursday would not have been possible without this woman. So, Raj, you sharing that title with Becca, you know what I'm saying? So, in her words, ow.
Ow.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so let's
I hate when she do me like that.
so Ross and Zay and Jay, we just want to ask y'all a couple questions so that the community can know exactly who you are because everybody ain't been marching with y'all for 100-some days. You know what I'm saying?
142.
142 now?
Yeah.
Yep, 142.
142 days of a relationship being built. You know. So the first question I want to ask all of y'all is, I'm going to start with you, Zay. What school did you attend?
I attended Mesmer High School.
Shout out to Mesmer.
Shout out Mesmer.
Mesmer.
Washington.
Okay, shout out to Washington. Let's go. My mama went to Washington for a time. She went to Custer and Washington.
I went there too, but we ain't gonna tell nobody.
Where you go?
I went to Washington for like a couple months.
Wash House.
Yeah, pergolers.
That's what's up.
I know.
Bishops.
Awesome.
Right.
Bishops.
Bishops.
Listen, shout out to everybody. All the bishops, all the pergolas, okay?
Okay.
Y'all tap that like button. What do you aspire to be?
Somebody my little cousins can look up to. Really. That's it.
Okay. So you still trying to fill that out, figure that out?
Yeah.
That ain't nothing wrong with that. That's nothing wrong with that. That's good. You got eyes on you, pretty much. You the big homie.
Huh?
You the big homie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ross,
I want to be an entertainer.
what you gonna do? Comedy? I'm done.
I make y'all laugh every day.
You do, kinda, yeah. So an entertainer?
Yeah.
In what you don't know exactly in what lane?
All lanes.
All of them? You do music?
Somewhat.
Okay.
Give us a little something, Miss Blacktastic. We want to hear
Go
a little
ahead,
something.
Jay-Z.
I mean, we got time. Let me hear what you do. I mean, this your elevator speech. This your moment.
Ain't no cussing on this
Come
channel.
on, Jay-Z.
Okay, well, we can beep it out. Go ahead.
See, now it's your turn. I told you she'd put you on the spot.
I sure do put people on the spot. Come on now.
I'm not finna do it.
You ain't
You're
gonna do
not
it.
finna do
Well, we
it.
gonna need to get you.
We
We
got
need you to get us a
followers.
track, then,
Yeah,
Miss
we-
Entertainer, or get
Look.
us a video.
Look, I got y'all. After the show, I'm going to hide something for y'all.
But this is the moment. This is when you should be doing it because people watching. You know what I'm saying? You don't know who watching. Jay-Z
She
could be
said
watching.
Look.
She
Yeah.
Shit, what a rock.
What about you, Jay? What you aspire to be?
Well, I always wanted to make my own video games
Wow.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's cold. Art Institute. They definitely do that. I attended there for a little while. The gamers stuck
I
together.
could hook you up with something.
Yeah, I'm going to MATC for it.
My next question for y'all: why did you start protesting?
It was really just like to see how it is. Like I was just bored one day. I just decided to just go, and I just liked it, so I just kept going.
What did you like about it?
Meeting new people. I met a lot of new people, and they put me on game, so I just like that.
That's what's up. What about you, Ross?
Well, I became a protester because I looked at it like I could be that voice for people that lost their voice to the system or to the streets. I could be that voice for them. That's why I really became a protester.
What's up, Miss Blacktastic?
What about you, Jay?
Well, I really joined for fun, but then as I've been protesting, I started realizing all the police brutality and all that, so I just started taking it serious and coming every day.
Period. Okay. And what changes have you seen during protesting?
When you say changes, what you mean by that?
I mean, any changes. Changes in the system, changes in you, changes in people, changes in Milwaukee, Wauwatosa, your family, whatever.
I know one thing they did, and what y'all do with the chief in Milwaukee? What happened with that?
We took it to the streets. We demoted the chief.
I love that. Demoting the chief. How y'all feel about that?
Man, I feel we could do much better, but it's something.
It's a start. Yeah. Yeah.
We got more out the way, we got that out the way, and we got more to come.
That's what's up.
Now
That's
we
what's
on
up.
Mesa.
Y'all also are putting pressure and attention to things that would normally be brushed up under the rug. You know, the Cole family not, for one, justice for the three. They would not have the attention that they have if it wasn't for you guys being in the streets consistently. So that's something that you guys can definitely own.
That's just the calling for my pride. We all need to come together one way.
That's right.
It's the time.
That's right.
Just sit back and just keep letting stuff happen like this. And nobody speak about it.
Right. What would y'all like to accomplish going forward in protesting?
Again, justice for the Cole family. That's what I want to accomplish.
Come
really.
on.
Justice for
For all three of them, as a matter of fact.
For justice for the three. Y'all make sure y'all hashtag justice for the THEE3. That's what's up. Listen, we glad to have y'all on today. Y'all gonna be here, you know what I'm saying, stumping around. I'm so impressed about how y'all presented yourself at the rally. You know, how y'all came through, the speech that was delivered, the responsibilities that y'all took on. Like, we knew it was in you, but you actually got to put it to practice, and y'all really got to show people y'all for real about what y'all doing, you know, and the maturity that you have. So we appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, a little transition right quick.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying?
okay.
Let's talk about this rally right quick, and then we gonna get into talking to world-renowned attorney Kimberly Motley. Let's talk about the rally.
So, yeah, let's talk about that. So I know that we were planning a rally. And I'm going to interview you on this one, Becca,
Oh,
because,
Lord.
yeah, we're going to put you on the spotlight, Miss
That is a
Blacktastic.
bully, man.
So how did that happen? Like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Because first we was planning something to happen a couple of months down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then what made us do it in like 6 days?
So, I believe the Gathering for Justice, Carmen Perez, shout out to Carmen Perez. She was looking to connect with organizers in Milwaukee. And Marquesa Tucker ended up reaching out to me. They connected with me, and we were planning an action for the D3. And I mean, we had been meeting for the past few months. I got to actually meet them when we went to DC. That's when we actually got a chance to meet them. And when they heard what happened to Miss Cole and the Cole family, they were like, listen, I know we had these plans to come at such and such time, but this is an emergency and we need to come now because this needs to be nationally known. They can't sweep this under the rug, and too much work is being put in. So we kind of jump started the action and the demands for Tulsa, and then other organizers just started to reach out. I know Kimberly connected me with Dewan, who was phenomenal. Shout out to you, Dewan, in Black Kenosha, that actually like made things come together.
He brought them out.
Like differences aside and actually just produced. You know what I mean?
Right.
So then I learned from the gathering that Rock Nation was going to be sponsoring. So we were able to be sponsored by Rock Nation, trained by the gathering, and Until Freedom also played a major part in making sure that the plans were laid out, and we just made it do what it do.
So you just mentioned a couple of names, Until Freedom, and then also the Gathering for Justice. Who are the names behind those two organizations? Because, you know, people love to name drop.
Harry Belafonte? Is that who you looking for?
Yes, I'm looking for Harry's name.
Shout out to Mr. Belafonte.
Thank you, Mr. Belafonte.
For a legacy that he left. A good man leaves behind a legacy.
Yes.
And he did that.
And he's doing
He
it.
definitely did.
He's
definitely
doing
did
it.
that.
And who else from Until Freedom? Who?
Tamika Mallory, my song, Miss Linda.
Oh, yes.
Sis, we love you.
Definitely. So what event happened, you know, to like be the catalyst for them to come right away? When Big Brother and Sister heard about something, I want you to talk about that incident. You know,
I think we're gonna wait till that incident until we talk to Attorney Kimberly Motley, because I don't want to get
transition.
I don't want to say the wrong
You don't wanna
thing,
say the
transition
wrong
the wrong
thing?
way.
Okay.
We'll let her handle it.
Okay.
But as far as the rally, like what is the overview? Do you think the families were did they receive the just attention that they needed? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I think it should have been all over, like worldwide, like all over. Like everybody should have been aware of it because it was messed up. Mm-hmm. It was messed up what happened to her.
So what you're saying is you think that more people should have turned out and more people like worldwide news should have been given to the situation. Okay. Respect that. What about you?
I'm kind of going with Zay here. It's kind of in the middle to me, really.
Okay. I absolutely love the turnout. You know, what we produced in like 6 days is kind of like unheard of in some, you know, avenues. I wish we would have had more time to be able to build up those media outlets and things like that. But, you know, we were on a time crunch, so. But it was dope to me. What about you, sis?
I mean, it was a lot of work, but it was a good turnout.
It was a lot of work. Definitely a lot of work. And this superwoman over here, Miss Blacktastic, along with this superwoman, Miss Blacktastic, yeah, we got it done.
Yeah. So now we're going to move on to our next guest, if y'all don't mind. Thank you.
Hi. Okay.
We have world-renowned attorney Kimberly Motley, who is also my cousin. I'm just going to tell y'all the truth right quick. How you doing, Kim?
I'm good, thank you. I can't complain. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Doing good.
That's good.
Yes, so what we want to know is your background. Like, tell us about where you were raised.
Before I get into that, can I address two things that these wonderful protesters have brought up?
You can.
Because I think it's really, really important to know where, which is why I was sort of looking on my phone, these efforts have led. So whenever we do an event, there's a scientific sort of method to it. And when we sort of push media out there and things like that, we have people that actually track that. So with regards to the rally, for instance, we know that total social media coverage was over 11 million people that it reached. We know that with regards to the Wauwatosa, Wisconsin Rally for Justice in terms of media, it was mentioned over 1,000 times and had over 360 million potential impressions. So I want these very strong protesters to really understand that you may not see that, because we're here in Milwaukee and we're at, Hart Park. You don't know, but it is reaching worldwide, and we have analytics that sort of follow that. Which is great.
Yeah.
And I can say, with everything we're trying to do with the protesters, they have goals. Legally, we have goals and things like that. And in terms of the three families, Alvin Cole, Jay Anderson, and Antonio Gonzalez, Motley Legal, we've been representing them since June 15th, all three families. Mm-hmm. And I can say some of the results achieved since we've been representing them is several. So, for instance, there's a 4-point legislation that we gave to Governor Evers that's on his desk that, he wants to maybe push forward. Wauwatosa voted in July to get body cameras, and they're going to get that before the year's up. That's huge. That's something that the community was fighting for years. Wauwatosa votes to end no-knock search warrants. That happened within the last 2 months. Wauwatosa votes to end chokeholds. That was August 6th vote. Wauwatosa creates a committee to address policing and systematic inequities within the community. That was a vote in July. We filed also with regards to Kenosha, we filed a civil rights class action lawsuit that's currently in the courts now that I think we have a really good chance of winning, because I do think there's question on whether or not that curfew was actually enacted legally. Officer Joseph Mensah was suspended from the Wauwatosa Police Department. That doesn't happen, I don't know, ever in the Wauwatosa police history where an officer was suspended for sort of bad police practices, particularly, obviously, with regards to him shooting and killing 3 young men. We've reopened, or we are asking for the courts to reopen Jay Anderson's case. We've asked that of D.A. Chisholm as well. That's a big deal. That doesn't often happen, that argument. We also have started the procedure with the Wauwatosa Fire and Police Department to fire Officer Joseph Mensah. We have an investigator that agrees with us that he should be terminated. That's an achievement. We have national community partners now. We have the Gathering for Justice. We have the Justice League. We have Rock Nation that's involved. Team Rock that's involved. So that's a huge achievement. And so I know that when you're fighting these battles, it's really hard to see and to know what you're doing, especially when you're getting arrested or when you're getting shot and hurt, or, when you're just getting harassed. But everybody it's amazing, the protesters that have been supporting the family, and there have been a lot of really amazing, achievable things that have happened. And I'm just talking specifically about Wauwatosa. There's things that these protesters have done that have helped with Milwaukee. They have a new police chief. They're going through an interview process. That's huge, And so I think, I know it's hard. It's hard to be out there for 140 days. It's not easy. It's a big sacrifice. It's a huge, physical sacrifice, mental sacrifice. People are losing friends. People are gaining friends. There's a lot that goes with this. And I think that's why it was really important for the rally to happen, for also a lot of people to understand that the reason why all those groups came into play is because they have been paying attention to this. And that's why they came. 4 busloads deep. Like that. It took 2 days to plan that event. 2 days. They were just waiting to be asked. And thanks to Becca and other people that organized it, it happened. So I want you to know that, there's over 300 million people that are paying attention to this.
Wow.
That's right. That's really,
Wow.
it's huge.
Thank you for that, Kim.
And no problem.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I wanted to talk about the cop that you talked about, the Joseph Mensah guy. He's accused of murdering 3 people. Have you ever heard of an officer being on a job after murdering 3 people?
Well, Joseph Mensah did shoot and kill 3 people, 19 shots fired in 5 years' time period. And really, if you do the math, he's actually only been on the streets for 4 of those years. Every time he shoots and kills somebody, he takes leave. So there's actually one other officer that I know of in the United States who actually killed 3 people, I believe within a 12-year time period. One person he shot and killed. He was among several officers that shot and killed somebody, and then he shot and killed a second person, and the third person he choked to death. essentially. And that officer is Officer Chauvin, the one that killed George Floyd. So other than Officer Chauvin, who killed George Floyd, and Officer Mensah, they're in the same category. I don't know anyone else. Those are the only two I know of.
Wow.
I'm speechless after that one.
I didn't even know.
And Officer Chauvin did it in 12 years. Killed 3 people. Right.
Right. He did it in half the time. Wow.
A third of the time.
A third of the time.
Right.
I'm gonna drop that one of those. All of our skin folks ain't our kin folks because he's black. He's a black man. For those of you who don't know,
From Ghana.
from Ghana.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. You would never think that somebody would hate their people so much. You know, I hate to say that. You know,
Right.
like when I heard about him, I'm like, oh, he can't be one of us. You know, but
Well, he kind of not. If you think about it, his family is from another country.
Well, we're all from another country, though.
I know, but you know, when
We can't do that to them.
I've had African friends, right, and they have been painted a picture about African Americans when they come over here, because they didn't come from. We don't have the same culture. Their culture is rich. You know what I mean? The things that they teach from childhood on up. So when they come over here, it's a disconnection. And then he went to a white high school on top of that.
Right.
So I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I think that black people all over the world are the same. And even though we don't have the same experiences, it's we still have some of the same DNA. Yeah, you're right. He may not have been brought up like us, but you know, without his badge, without anything, without opening his mouth, he's still one of us. You know, and he's experienced some of us. Just because he has a different type of education, just because he has this, he still should have compassion for his people.
Oh yeah, compassion. Yeah, but experience wise, when
Yeah.
I went to high school with people from Africans, like from Nigeria or from Nigeria, there was not the same language. The relationship that we share is the same relationship that we share with Caucasian students, or you know what I'm saying, somebody from a different country. It was like a disconnect until we got to grow and learn and have a relationship. They don't always identify as being one of us, is what I'm saying. When I go to the African shop right now to go get my shea butter, she don't identify as being a black African American.
But when
Right.
she checked that census box, she checked black. So
Well, you know, I think I can say this, that, you know, I do a lot of my work is in different countries, and my kids I have 3 kids, and my kids have traveled with me. And one thing that I know is that, you know, especially Black Milwaukee, they don't realize how very special they are. Wherever we go, we've been to Australia, we've been to Dubai, we've been to Africa. They are fascinated by African American culture. It's almost like you're a rock star. When my kids went to Australia, the kids were like, what's it like? And they're into hip hop, they're into rap, they want to know, they just think the African American culture is just so cool. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people, and especially Black Milwaukee, they don't understand how very special they are. And what I can say is, you know, with regards to America is messed up. We're just way too color struck. We're way too, you know, you're black, you're white, you're this, that, and the other. But outside of these walls of America, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's like you're African, or you're, you know, Korean, or you're whatever, you know. And I think, like, my mother is from North Korea, so I'm Korean and I'm African American. And so there's this fallacy, I think. And when I went to Africa, I went to Uganda. And I went there because I was looking at getting involved in some LGBTQ cases and some human trafficking work. And I can't tell you, when I went there, they welcomed me with open arms. They were basically like, welcome home. It was just so beautiful. I was there Thanksgiving, and I had dinner on the Nile. They had people that went and fished directly in the Nile, and that's what we had for dinner. You know, it was amazing, the reception. They wanted to know a lot about African American culture, and I think, to be completely honest, there's been a lot of things that have been perpetuated in the media that has caused this divide between Africans and African Americans, because I have dealt with, and I have very good friends that are from Eritrea, from Ethiopia, from South Africa, from Uganda, from Rwanda, from all over Africa, that are just cool, and that aren't, they understand, and they don't, and when you go there, at least my experience, and everyone else that I know that has gone to Africa has had a very, very positive experience. But in terms of officers like Joseph Mensah, frankly, statistically, what I have read is that black officers can be just as racially biased as white officers. It's not about the color of the officer, it's about the color of the quote-unquote suspects. And that's where the racial stuff comes in, not the officers, because they just see, from what I've been told by officers, they just see blue.
Wow. Can you tell us about Lawless? Can you tell us about your book, Lawless?
Yes. So I'm actually supposed to be on book tour right now, but I'm in Milwaukee, which I'm glad to be here. But I just wrote a book called Lawless, and it's basically about my 12 years of being an international attorney. I started I'm from Milwaukee. I grew up in Berryland Projects, and Berryland.
Shout out to Berryland.
A hero came from Berryland, y'all.
And, you know, when I used to work in the public defender's office. I first worked in the Racine public defender's office. Then I worked in the Milwaukee public defender's office. And in 2008, and to be completely honest, I didn't want to raise my kids here. Working as a criminal defense attorney, I saw so many people in and out of the system, so many family members in and out of the system. It's a trap. And so I have a son and I have 2 daughters, especially for my son, because I do feel like black males particularly are targeted in this community. I was like, I will not raise my son here. And so as a result of that, we moved to North Carolina, and I got a job in Afghanistan, which should tell you how badly I wanted my kids not to grow up here. At that point in time, I went to a job in Afghanistan because I wanted them to be right. And so I did that in 2008. And I went with a program that was funded by the U.S. Department of State, a justice-funded program, to train and mentor Afghan defense attorneys. So it was my first time leaving the country, and I went there to, in this war zone, to really learn about the legal system and to train the lawyers that were there. And so based on that experience, what I found is my upbringing in Milwaukee, frankly, really helped me in Afghanistan in a lot of ways. You don't really realize sort of the things that you go through in this community till I was out of it, you know. And I think a lot of people in Milwaukee will be very well equipped to go to Afghanistan, frankly. But in that first year when I went there, I went to different prisons, and I met different people that were English from different countries, from Australia, the U.S., South Africa, English-speaking people that were locked up in an Afghan prison. And until I saw them, I had no idea that foreigners were also locked up in Afghanistan for drugs, murder, weapons violations. And I found that there was nobody that really wanted to represent them, and also they didn't speak the language. But several of them had been in prison for years. And so I went to the various embassies and said, you know, do you know about these foreigners that are in here locked up? And they didn't care. You know, I went to the U.S. Embassy. They didn't care. And so I decided to quit my job, and I just started representing people in Afghanistan. Mostly I started focusing on foreigners, English-speaking foreigners that were locked up there. And then I started getting people out. And so then I moved on to representing international companies, international businesses, and embassies and things like that. Because what I didn't realize at that time, I was doing it sort of as an experiment. But Afghanistan is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And my going there, it's about the size of Texas. I think there's about 35 million people. So you figure the size of Texas, 35 million people. There were only, when I got there, less than 100 Afghan attorneys for 35 million people. So for the country. And a lot of the lawyers that I met didn't know how to read and write. They just were on the list. Particularly women were extremely oppressed. A lot of women, attorneys wouldn't even represent and or talk to women because that's a whole nother ball game there. And so you just had people that were in prison.
They couldn't read and write English, is what you're saying?
They couldn't read and write Dari, their language.
Wow.
What?
I've met judges who are illiterate.
Wow.
What?
Yes.
Now, I thought you were talking about English, too. I'm like, okay, maybe she's talking about English, but wow.
No, their language. And so it's also Islamic country, you know. So it's the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. So it's not just about Afghan law, it's about Islamic law. So I learned that a little bit, you know, to try to understand how to properly litigate for people. And so, you know, then I got everyone out that I represented. And so once I started representing companies and, you know, because everyone was like, I need a lawyer. Everyone needed a lawyer all of a sudden. And no one had a lawyer. And so, especially companies, because with lawyers here, right, there's rules. And if you do things that are unethical, people can complain and try to get your license taken away. Where there's no rules. So it's like people just do whatever they want to do. And there's really no consequences. So I remember my first trial when I went to Afghanistan because I was trying to learn the system. And I was sitting there, and I was really excited. And it was 2008, and with my program, there was no one that had ever went to a trial, which just seemed ridiculous because you have all these diplomats that work for it. I'm like, you should know what the court system looks like because we're investing, you know, millions and millions of dollars to capacity build and to train lawyers. So I'm sitting in court, and the judges, someone knocks on the door, and that's what begins court. So as I'm sitting there, they bring this guy there, and he has a bag over his head, and he has his hands are shackled, his feet are shackled. He comes shuffling into court. And so I'm sitting there looking at it, and then the court judge basically says, okay, let's start court. And they snatch the bag off his head. I mean, he looked more like a hostage than a defendant. And so basically, the prosecutor sits down. He sits, and he's basically like, well, this guy is a taxi driver. And the reason why he's in court is because they found guns and cell phones in his car. And with taxis, they run a lot like an Uber pool where different people share the same cab. So you don't know because it's a poor country. So you might have 5 people in a cab. You don't know who they all are. And so in this area, apparently the prosecutor said that the police stopped the car. There were guns and phones. And everyone has guns and phones in Afghanistan. And they said, and based off of that, they know that he is with the Taliban. And then the prosecutor sat down. That was it. That was his complete case. So then the judges look at this guy and they say, do you have anything to say? And the first thing he said is, I'm a taxi driver. I'm not a terrorist. And he said, if I'm a taxi driver, bring the man before me that says that I'm a terrorist to my face. Not realizing he's invoking his right to confrontation, something that is they have a right to in Afghanistan and in the U.S. And then the judge pulls up a piece of paper and he said, but you signed this piece of paper. And the guy says, I can't read and write. I have no idea what that says. Now, what I later found out in Afghanistan, what they would do is, because how you sign your name is a thumbprint, your thumbprint, because you can't sign. So what they were doing is that they were taking people's thumbprints and they were forced and pushing on a blank piece of paper. And then the police would write a confession on that blank piece of paper. And so he was like, I don't know what that says. I'm not a terrorist. I can't read and write. He said, and then he starts trying to show his bruises of where they've beaten him. You know, he's like trying, and I'm sitting there looking at him, feeling very bad for him. But I'm just sitting there thinking, like, they're going to get him in the back for saying this stuff in front of me. You know, they're going to beat him again just for saying this. And so at the end of it, after about 5 minutes, the judge pounds on the table and he goes, enough. And he goes, don't disrupt me. He said, don't disrupt me. And that was it. Anything that this man had to say was done. The case was over. 5 minutes later, they found him guilty of being a terrorist, gave him 8 years. He's labeled a terrorist for life.
Wow.
That trial took about 20 minutes from that guy walking into court, them snatching that bag off his head, to the final decision, labeled a terrorist for life. So based off that decision, I knew I couldn't work. I couldn't keep that job. And I also knew I couldn't not get involved in their legal system. And so that always stuck with me, don't disrupt me. And so based on that and based on, my going to different prisons. And one thing that was really interesting is I actually like going to prisons and learning about different legal systems. So wherever I go, in whatever country I go, I make it a point to go to the prison because I think that to me is very fascinating. So in Afghanistan, for whatever reason, they just gave me carte blanche access to prisons. So I was going all over the country just talking to thousands of people that were locked up, men, women, and children. And there was nobody that had a trial that was right. Not one person had a trial that was right. Most people didn't have an attorney that was going to court to represent them. Most people had been tortured. Most people had forced confessions. It was just a mess. And it's still a mess. So that opened my eyes a lot. And so based on those experiences, then I started having women coming to me, that women that were getting arrested for moral crimes. In Afghanistan, people were getting arrested if you're in a room alone with someone who's in the opposite sex and you're not married to them or related to them. There are people going to prison for adultery for that. No touching, just being in a room with someone you're not related to that's of the opposite sex.
That's wild, ain't it?
That is crazy. So are all these stories in your book that you wrote?
There's a lot of these stories in my book.
Can I tell you that when you read the book, how she delivering it right now, that's exactly how she delivers in the book.
Oh, wow.
It's like you sitting there having a conversation with her.
Wow.
How do you handle all these egregious acts, like all of this corruption? Like, how do you personally, as Kim, go home and handle this? Like,
Well, I mean, it's a lot. We all have PTSD in this room.
Yeah,
it's just something you use. Right. You just just something you get used to.
So would you say that you are kind of numb to it, or you just have a way of dealing with it?
Well, I have a way of dealing with it. I'll say what I've done. Like, I feel like I'm an artist, in a lot of ways. And so with that trial, the Don't Disrupt Me trial, I've created a comic book that I do like sort of on the side, and I put these stories in there. And the comic book is called The Disruptors. And so that is a way for me to kind of unwind and just bring out this stuff, that I have to bring out. And it helps. But I think everyone has to figure it out. To me, I swallowed the red pill. I'm in this. That's it. I'm in this. We're all in this.
Yeah.
I think it's the red pill, right?
The red or green pill.
The red one is the one where you see the truth.
Yeah. So what's the name of that book again? How can people purchase your book?
It's called Lawless, and they can purchase it on Amazon. There's also an audio book to it, and that's also on Amazon. So,
if I pick it up, can you sign it for me?
Of course, of course.
So then let's move on to Tulsa, and we have a lot going on in Tulsa, like the alderman who just resigned. Was it a forced resign? What is it? Was it a moral? Her holding on to her moral value resign. Do you have any information about that?
Well, I don't have any inside information on that. No, I just think it's a real shame. I think she was a great alderwoman. I think it was disgusting how many people within the Tulsa quote unquote leadership came after her. And I think from what I read, she did it to really protect her family. Because
she was receiving some type of threats, right?
Yes, that's what I understand.
Heather Call, Alderwoman Heather Call in Wauwatosa. How unfortunate.
But this is the thing. I mean, Heather, you know, I've seen her out there. I've heard her, and frankly, this may make her even more powerful.
Awesome.
It's sort of like what's his name? The former vice president of Bill Clinton, the one that does God, what's his name?
Al Gore.
Al Gore, right? He never was president, but he had a larger platform once he got out of politics. And that's sort of what I see with Heather Cole, that this is not the end of Heather Cole one way or the other. I feel like to a certain extent, she was shackled by being an alderwoman, and I'm certain that she will be out there fighting even harder.
Come on, Heather Call. We need you, honey. Let's link up.
That's right.
And then you know, there is even if we lose somebody good, there's still an opportunity to gain somebody good.
Yes, yes. And I think that this is the time right now to start talking about the young people who live in Tulsa, who have shared values and missions, you know, for our cause. And for us to start grooming you guys to start filling some of these positions, you know, because we need people who have our shared mission to sit in these roles and these seats. So,
Absolutely.
politics for you.
We need people also. We need people that are 1993 high school graduates like me. I don't know where you guys are at. I'm sorry. I'm really annoyed that I know people that are 40 and up, that they need to step up. It shouldn't just be the young people. They are taking a lot of blows here. It is not fair. And I talk to people all the time, and I tell my kids, it's our responsibility to protect them and to show up too. And we're not showing up the way we need to show up for the young people, and that's not okay. You know, I don't live here anymore, but I love Milwaukee. My family's here. You guys are my family. I'm still going to show up. You know, so where is the black middle class in Milwaukee? Where are you at? Why aren't you giving them jobs? Why aren't you stomping with them? Why aren't you helping to pay bail? Where are you?
Yep.
Because this is for you, too.
And we talked about that the last show. We talked about, or were we on Keeping It Cute with P3? Shout out to Keeping It Cute with P3. We talked about ways that the black community can support people, the young people, without even, you know, paving, the pavement, being on the front line. There are so many different ways to support the movement, and we do need the support of all people, you know, to keep the agenda, keep this movement going on and keeping it going strong. So
I also want to just clarify between baton passing and legacy. So legacy is something that the ones before you leave you, but baton passing does not have an age limit on it. You pass a baton when you master something and you pass it on to somebody else. It doesn't matter what age they are. It's their turn. It's just a season. It's about being in the right season. You know what I mean?
I heard that this week. I forget, one of our speakers was talking about that. Like, we're running a relay. Like, we got to pass.
Shout out to Karis.
I thought that was Karis. I was going to say her, but I was like, maybe it was. But, yeah, she talked about passing the baton. You know, we're in a relay race. You know, we can't run the full, you know what I'm saying, path of the race. You know, we gotta work together to make this happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Let's bring it in on next steps for the 3. The 3.
No, we didn't talk about the event from not this Thursday, but last week Thursday. We didn't get to talk about that yet.
What was last week Thursday?
What happened to Miss Cole?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't talk about that.
Can we talk about what happened to Miss Cole?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Miss Cole was out there. She was out there, which is her constitutional right to be out there. She was sitting in her car with her daughter, and she was forced out of her car by law enforcement that were in Wauwatosa.
I got to stop you for one moment because we didn't talk about who Miss Cole is. For those of the people who don't know who Tracy Cole is, she is the mother of Alvin Cole.
Who was killed by Mensa.
That's correct.
Joseph Mensa, yes, that's right.
Right. So Tracy Cole was forced out of her car by police, her and her daughters, her 3 daughters. And when they forced her out of her car, they arrested her. They handcuffed her immediately. They punched her in her face. They she thought she almost broke her arm. She was screaming about it. They said they didn't care. That is on video. We have that. We will use that. And ultimately, she went to the hospital that night
with a lump on her head the size of my fist. And she told the officers who were arresting her, I am Alvin Cole's mother. I'm Alvin Cole's. I think I heard it like 3 times.
Oh, and she said, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they said they don't care. But then when the news asked them about the incident, they said she never identified herself.
That's a
as
lie.
Alvin Cole's
We have
mom.
it on video, and I'm
Yeah.
glad keep lying. You know, because I'm just pressing record on all these interviews that they do. It's just good evidence for me. Please keep talking to them so they can keep lying, and we can put this in our suit when we file it. Thank you.
For real. Thank God for, phone recorders. Thank God for Facebook Live and all of the stuff that we're using and we're getting to catch these people up.
I mean,
You
but
know?
it's not over because
It's not.
they assaulted his mom, but then you have his sisters.
Right. So what we've done is to Levia Cole, they took her phone, and we still don't have her phone back. They took Roz's phone. They don't have your phone? Okay, we don't have to get that. So we have filed a petition to the court that she should get her phone back. Now, why they've had her phone, they don't have a search warrant as of Thursday when I went personally to go get her phone back. They didn't have a search warrant. They said they're trying to get one, so they've already illegally took her phone and then admitted to her lawyer that they didn't have a search warrant, which is just golden. And while they've had her phone, her Facebook has been deleted, her Instagram has been deleted, her iCloud has been tampered with, to which there is many privileged documents that I have written to my client that are in her files with iCloud. So this is
Client privilege.
exactly.
Oh, man. Shout out to Tulsa and their incompetence.
And their negligence and incompetence
Negligence and incompetence.
for their lawlessness.
Yes.
Wow.
Really.
That's just crazy. I can't believe that we're even having a conversation about like the stuff that they're breaking the law and it's blatant and they don't care.
Well, I mean, I think we have to. The one thing we've tried to do is strategize, at least from the legal perspective. But I think what they really care about, and every community cares about, is their money. And I really do believe that there does need to be a boycott of Wauwatosa businesses. There does need to be a boycott of things like that. I do think that that's really important. That's one thing that people can do as consumers. If you're not wanting to go out there in March, you can choose not to spend your money there.
Yeah.
I know we had conversations about this before, like campaigning.
QP3.
Yeah, but like even with like Montreal, we had conversations about campaigning in Wauwatosa and boycotting,
Right,
keeping our cash in our pockets.
right,
But then the
but
question
still
came
show up.
do we show up?
Right.
Show up? Do we show up? And then on top of that, are we a major consumer in Wauwatosa?
Definitely.
I think Black Americans are major consumers everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everywhere. It
Yeah.
matters.
So we definitely gonna be working on that.
I think writing to the mayor matters. Writing to the Common Council matters. Writing to Chief Weber matters. I think all those things are very, very important things to do. Filing police complaints against Wauwatosa matters. Bankrupting their city with lawsuits, with valid lawsuits, that matters. We have a lot of filings that we have filed against the city of Wauwatosa, and we have a lot more that we need to do.
So Mayor McBride and Chief Weber had a press conference last week, and they talked about how protesting doesn't mean anything. You're not, you're not mean. It doesn't mean anything. You're not making anything happen.
Out of
You're
the horse's mouth, he said that.
He did. So what is your response to that, Ms. Motley?
Well, the thing about Mayor McBride that I think is really funny is that every chance he gets, he's that person that always says all the time how he marched with Father Grappi. That's sort of like I have a black friend comment. You know, he always says that. And Fadi Grafi has been deceased for over 25 years. Like, seriously, dude. So why the hell were you protesting back then? You know,
Right.
you know, he says two things. I used to march with Fadi Grafi, and I'm a lawyer. He says those two things all the time.
Bro, you were 10 at that point.
No, when he passed away.
Oh my goodness.
That's when, so when he marched, that was even longer than that.
Oh,
So I find it remarkable, but not surprising that Mayor McBride would say right.
What are next steps for D3 that like the community can help on? Like, where are we headed with D3 in order to like, because you know all the ins and outs. So in order for organizations to be more organized to support this family, what are like next steps for D3?
Well, I mean, a couple things. I think it's important to back up the protesters. You know, I think we have seen this before in the 60s. We have seen when they labeled Martin Luther King and Malcolm X as terrorists. They are trying to do the same. They don't change their blueprint. You know, they're trying to label the People's Revolution as a terrorist organization, which it is not. Just like they try to label the Black Panthers as a terror organization, which it was not and is not. You know, same with the NAACP. They are playing the same game. And so I think it's important that we support the protesters, whether it's out there marching with them, whether it's out there funding them, whether it's out there giving them jobs. I mean, seriously, this is not easy for them to do. And a lot of people we all got bills to pay, you know. Right. And I think that's something that people in the community can do. I think in terms of the families, it's important to call the mayor, call the chief, call the common council, right? You know, voting is really important. Showing up for meetings is really important. I need more lawyers. You know, it's like, where are they at? Honestly. You know, I'm trying to do what I can for sure, and I love representing my families. I love representing the protesters. But, you know, we are all bursting at the seams with the cases that we have, but we won't stop. We'll continue to do this. And the thing that Tosa and Mayor McBride and everyone needs to understand is it is my specialty to fight against authoritarian regimes.
Ooh.
This is what I do.
Say it again.
It's my specialty to fight against dictators and authoritarian regimes. So if I can be detained in Afghanistan and Cuba, I don't give a damn about being detained in Wauwatosa. You know, they're not going to stop. Are you crazy? You know.
What's the new word? Is Whitatosa?
Warwatosa.
Warwatosa. Okay.
Hashtag Warwatosa.
So, you know, they're not going to win. And I think, and they can't win. And this isn't just a black fight. This is a fight for everybody. This is a fight for everybody's civil liberties, everybody's human rights, civil rights, constitutional rights. We all deserve better in policing, period. We all deserve, you know, the fact that Officer Mensah, and think about it, Chief Weber did a deposition on September 21st. He was deposed where he was sworn to tell the truth. Yeah. And in that deposition, which I have a copy of and I'm happy to show everybody, he threw Mensah completely under the bus. In that deposition, he admitted that Mensah has violated rules, policies. And with that, and he's violated several policies since he's been suspended. That he admitted in the deposition, since he's been on paid suspension. So if they wanted to fire him today, they can fire him today off of that.
What's the hold up?
Exactly.
Weber said that he was a good cop. He said in a press conference that he was a good cop and basically that he's not going to fire him. Well, so, I mean, shouldn't we be looking at firing a chief and putting somebody in?
It's not up to him. It's up to the
Oh, it's definitely up.
Weber said no. Weber can make the decision to fire him. Chief, I want to say Mayor McBride said that he couldn't do anything because we have to go through the process. And it sounds like just a bunch of cowards making excuses or whatever to follow the process and give us results that we're not going to be happy with. You know, I wonder what they would do if the shoes were on the other foot, if the tables were turned. You know, if we were talking about a white male or whatever who killed 3 white families. I don't think, or did I say that wrong? A black male, or help me out.
I think
y'all.
it's just whatever color the officer is. I think that's irrelevant. I think if the victims were white,
If the victims were white, that's what I'm trying to go. You're right. If the victims were white, these were 3 white families. I don't think that we would need to protest, because justice would have came right away. Like they would have already. I don't even think he would have had an opportunity to shoot a second person. Absolutely.
I just feel like nobody on the force. You can't tell me you mentally stable, physically stable after killing 3 people within 5 years. Nobody's gonna be mentally or physically stable after that. If I kill somebody, one person, I know I'm not gonna be stable after.
Right.
right?
So it's like some steps they need to follow due to that. Like you're not capable of even being on the force no more.
I just think
I
about
agree.
like having a job and messing up, like doing the biggest mess up you could do possibly 3 times in less than 5 years. Like I would be terminated. Why isn't it the same type of process with this young man?
I mean, I know soldiers in an active combat zone that don't fire their weapon as much as Mensa has fired his weapon in freaking war with Tosa within a 5-year time period.
You're scared of somebody that's running from you.
Did you say what? You say that a little louder,
I
Rob.
said you can't tell me you're scared of somebody that's running from you.
And let's like address the elephant in the room. We had a situation in Kenosha where this young 17, same age as Alvin Cole at the time, he openly carried a gun, walked around, and he didn't have to run from the police. He didn't have to, he wasn't searched, nothing happened. They didn't even ask him any questions. He killed 2 people and shot 1, and they gave him water, and he was able to go home. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the system is just so corrupt. It doesn't even make any sense. Two boys, same age. You know what I'm going to call the other guy in Kenosha a man, because that's how we should look at him. That man should not have been able to go home. I wonder why it wasn't the same type of force used. We know why, but
His mom got standing ovation for that too.
she did. And they got $200,000 from a Christian organization to help out with the legal funds. $200,000 from a Christian organization to help out with the legal funds. Yes, sir.
Meanwhile, we have the 3 who go to get documents that are owed them, and they have over a $5,000 bill.
Right.
Evangelicals.
Right. I mean, it's like donate to Gage Grossroy. He's my client. Donate to the survivor.
Right.
Because he almost lost his life. It's really, I don't understand their values. Right.
Say it again.
I said instead they want to donate to the killer.
Donate
Right.
to the killer.
Because they're justifying the fact that he was able to openly carry a gun. And I think that, because I had a 7. Yeah.
If we was 17 and going around with a gun like that, we would have got arrested and the gun would have got taken.
And they held him in a juvenile facility. A juvenile facility.
Are holding him.
Are
Currently.
holding him.
Still.
Excuse me. Still
Yes.
holding
Yeah.
him. If that would have been me, if that would have been, my son or anybody or whatever the same age, they would have took him straight to big boy jail. No pass go, no stop, collect $200. Yeah, they probably would have. And I don't even want to think about that, but unfortunately,
We wouldn't have got no water.
I mean,
handcuffs to the back.
Mensa had, there was a group that raised money for Mensa as well. It just shows the corruption of the heart of the people of America. All the killers are receiving all the money. All the victims are struggling in order to get the money that they need to win a case.
Right.
How I look at it is people need to look at it if it was your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew. How would you feel? Would you want to donate to the person that killed your niece, your daughter, your nephew?
Right.
No, you wouldn't. So they need to look at it like that. People can't keep sitting back and just allowing this. I can't do it. I can't.
compassion.
I think exactly. I agree with that, and I think maybe this is where we just need people of color just needs to just come together. But that ain't working. I mean, let's be real. But to just fill out some applications to be a law enforcement officer. Just like let's just flood that and just have a whole bunch of people of color going into law enforcement?
I know a couple people who actually
just
applied
do it.
for to become a law enforcement officer, and they got the runaround. They digged into their background and brought up something that happened when they were a juvenile. You know what I'm saying? And I think that the standards for law enforcement, for Black people are just too high. You know what I'm saying? If you're bringing up something that happened in somebody's background, that's a problem. And then also, let people or whatever who are from the community police the community, because I know that this boy has a mother. I know, what I'm saying, this girl's mama. I know this boy's mama. I'm more likely to have a conversation versus fear for my life and pull out a gun and shoot them, if we're having an issue or a problem. So there's so many different things that we can be pushing for and do, but we're going to let you talk about that, Kim. What are some other things that, we can do as a people to, prepare and not only support the movement? What are some other things that we can do?
Well, I mean, voting is important. I think voting, it's okay to be afraid, but you be afraid and take action. So if you see a cop that's doing something wrong, get involved. I'm not saying get in between, but film it, record it, write complaints about it. That's really important, because I know it's really hard for people to do that, and I understand, because you're afraid that you're going to be targeted. But we need more people to do that so that we can understand who the bad law enforcement are out there. I almost think it's come to a point where we need to create sort of our own list of bad cops that the community is aware of, so that we can be in a lookout. We have to be vigilant for each other and have each other's back in that way. Go to the meetings. Follow us in court. We've been very open and transparent with the things that we've been filing. Frankly, donate to the families for their legal fund and for them, period. This stuff is not cheap. Everything that we file costs money, and it costs a lot of money to do this. Just support the family. None of this is right. And the thing about it is that if we allow this to happen, we, meaning this community, allows this to happen, and we see them violating the civil rights of the protesters and of the families of the victims, then this will hurt everybody in the community. It's not just about Black Lives Matter. This is about our civil rights matter. Your constitutional rights matter. People kill themselves to come to this country, to have a fraction of the rights that we have. They literally kill themselves to be here for the rights that many people are allowing law enforcement to take away from that. We cannot have them do that. We can't let them do that. We have to treat our rights like a tangible object, just like you wouldn't let someone come in your house and take your shoes and your things. That's how you need to look at these laws and your rights. You cannot take my property from me. And that's really important for people to do and stand up for that. And I think with regards to what happened last week with the curfew, I think we've seen a lot, especially of a lot of white people in the community that were supportive of police, that were very surprised when they got arrested. And when they were yelling, I support you guys a lot of times, and they were getting dragged away. And I think I was almost happy that did happen, because I think it is opening people's eyes to how Wauwatosa police behave. And if they're behaving this way, when everybody is watching them and looking at them, think about how they behave when no one's looking at them.
That's good. That's true. What they know body camera haven't tell.
Right.
That just is good information. And then let's transition into the Justness Project, and tell us more about the Justness Project.
The Justness Project is a nonprofit, international 501c3, my nonprofit. And basically the purpose of it is to give laws back to the people. Like I said, I believe that the laws are a tangible thing. Like, I feel the laws. And I feel that a lot of people, even though you have the laws, they don't realize that they own the laws, that they are essentially the landlords and owners of these laws. So the purpose of the Justness Project is to, in particular, protect people, mostly vulnerable and marginalized people, to legally represent them and or advocate for them for their rights. So under the Justness Project, for instance, I represent many girls who have been child brides. I have a client who basically was a child bride she was 10 when she married a 50-year-old. He was awful. And her pedophile husband, of course, was very abusive. And he ended up using an axe and hitting her with the axe 15 times, including in her head, to the point where her brain was exposed. So she survived. She's a client, and we were able to get her asylum in Sweden. I have another client. I represent people for human trafficking. I have a client in Guinea who basically was trafficked to Kuwait, a 16-year-old African girl. And when she went there, she was sold from family to family based on an app that you can buy, that is used to buy people, that you can download from Google and Apple Store. We got her. Now she's back in Guinea.
Their mind is blown. Y'all got to get this book.
What's the name of the book again?
Lawless.
Right, and we can purchase it on the Amazon platform.
Amazon, and it's on audio. Y'all got to read the book.
Right. And now what I'm doing with the Justness Project is we're representing people in Wauwatosa, Kenosha, and Milwaukee that are being swept into these BS curfew tickets, essentially curfew violations, which they're violating a legal order and all these things. So we recognize that civil rights and human rights are essentially the same thing. And that also is a violation of human rights. So what we're doing is we're hooking up protesters with lawyers to fight against these cases where they're getting curfew violations and things like that. So that's all under the Justness Project, fighting essentially human trafficking, fighting essentially forced marriages, civil rights issues that deal with a lot of Black Lives Matters issues. So that's under the Justness Project.
And you need more lawyers for the Justness Project.
Right, good lawyers.
And you need donations too,
and
right?
Donations.
Yes.
How can someone donate to your organization?
Well, if they can go to thejustnessproject.com, there's a place you can donate to through PayPal. And so that's the best way to do it. If you want the donation, go to something specific, please put that in there, because we represent a lot of people for a lot of different crazy cases. Another case that is really interesting is we represent we represent a Chinese Uyghur, because the Chinese government has been targeting Chinese Muslims within the country, and they're essentially putting them in camps. They are taking, for some people, it's been reported that they are harvesting their organs. They are making women become not be able to have kids anymore. They're making the men sterile. There's a lot of nastiness going on. I mean, honestly, like Wauwatosa, this is nothing compared to the shit that I get involved in, but this is important too, just as important, So the Justness Project, it deals with a lot of human rights issues around the world, and also now in the Milwaukee County area.
Now, is it .org or .com?
.com. Justnessproject.com.
Justness Project. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Sorry.
we are going to go ahead and wrap up and tell you how you can stay connected. I know next week we will be talking more about the Cole family as well as elections. On our social media outlets, you can connect with us on Instagram, r_LOVE_UTION ready. On Twitter and Facebook, you can connect to us at Revolution Ready, and then the number 1. And if you would like to email us, if you want to stay in contact with us, receive a newsletter, or you want to respond to anything you heard today on the show, you can connect to us. Or if you wanted to send a donation, you can connect to us at revolutionready.wi@gmail.com. All right? Hey, yo, I love y'all.
And we love you too.